The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well,
I think I would have been ready. Always flying by the seat of my pants. Always. It's like my whole life is being held together by duct tape.
Yeah.
And
go.
Here we go.
It's better.
Wi-Fi is so slow. All right, I think we're up on Facebook. I know we're up on YouTube.
Yeah, I see you on Facebook there.
Wi-Fi is so slow. Usually I blame Facebook, but it's not Facebook today. All right. All right, what do you say we get this show on the road, huh?
Let's do it.
I was going to make them do the bounce buzz, but I won't. Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here at the Paying Attention Podcast. Hiya, Top. Two Guys Smoke Shop at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. We've got a very interesting show for you today. The local elections are November 7th. That is, if you're watching us live, that is next Tuesday. If you're not watching us live, it's Tuesday, November 7th. Hopefully, you're all watching this before the election. We are losing our democracy at the local level, folks. Fewer and fewer people are voting for their local school committee, their local city council. Fewer and fewer people care about who their local mayor is, how much property taxes they're paying, the municipal services that you're getting. I see every year it seems like fewer and fewer people are voting. So what we want to do today is we want to educate you about your local at-large city council. Now, at-large means citywide. Every community is different. In Lawrence, there are, is it six, Rich? 6 district councilors? 6 district councilors and then 3 citywide councilors. So whatever district you live in, everyone gets to vote on these candidates, the at-large councilors. And then you also get to vote in a district council race. Only 2 of those races in Methuen. There are, 3 districts in Methuen. There are 2 councilors that represent each district. And only 2 of them really have any competition. Today we have at-large city councilors seeking to be an at-large city councilor. Incumbent Nick DiZoglio to my far left, to your far right. School committee, are you president? Are you chairman of the school committee still?
I am currently secretary.
Okay, but you were former president of the?
Vice chair.
Former vice chair of the Methuen School Committee, current member of the Methuen School Committee, and chairman of the Greater Lawrence Jana Zanni-Pesce. And I'm trying to breeze through this as quick as I can. Maybe I'm just going a little too fast. And president of the Greater Lawrence Tech School Committee, Francisco Surillo. Dave Beauregard, who is also running for re-election, chose not to be here today. And so what I'm going to ask you could vote for 3, by the way. So I would probably be paying more attention to the people that cared enough to show up and that thought this was important enough to educate you about where they stand on the issues. They are Nick DiZoglio, Francisco Surillo, and Jana Zanni-Pesce. Now, my debates are real debates. They're not forums like everybody else calls a debate, like the local cable access channels do. I'm going to throw out a topic. I want you guys to talk to each other. I want people to see the dynamic of how you guys talk to each other, how you agree, how you disagree. And to me, it's really more on how you answer the question than what your answers are. Obviously, everybody watching at home, or if they're listening on Google Play or iHeartRadio or iTunes, will be able to make their own decisions as to what they give weight to and what they don't. So sorry about that. So let's start with, let me give each of you a few minutes. There's no time limit, by the way. So the only time I'm going to jump in is if I think somebody is hogging all the time and not letting someone else in. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to talk to each other, talk about the issues. Before we do that, take a few minutes, I'm not going to time it, to tell people why they should vote for you. And when the debate is over, I'm going to cut clips of each of you doing that and allowing you to share that on your social media pages to promote your campaigns. We'll start with our incumbent, Nick DiZoglio.
Oh, thank you, Tom. And thank you for holding this event. You know, being a city councilor for the last 4 years has brought, you know, a great opportunity for me as a growing in my field.
By the way, the camera's up there.
Oh, that's right. The
okay.
camera's over there. Sorry. I'm talking to you. I forget that we're on camera. You know, I'm very proud of my voting record. I'm very proud of the work we've done as a council and this administration. We've done a lot of great improvements to our infrastructure. We started an amazing trend of helping our senior citizens with senior assistant plans for not just housing or heating, but also for all utilities and perks around the city that they've been able to tie into. Our veterans, we've been very helpful to our veteran population with tax incentives. Mental health awareness, we're pushing for mental health programs in the city. Our fire department, police department have been extremely redeveloped and reorged to be self-sufficient. And to be honest with you, I couldn't be prouder of how our city has moved forward from its deficit. We've been very fiscally responsible across the districts. And, you know, from a homeowner and a family, you know, I have a young daughter. I think about our schools. I think about the work that we need to continue to do in the city. I think with my reelection, I bring forth a good plan on urban development, park revitalization. We need to do a lot of work in our parks, continued infrastructure on sidewalks and roads to make sure our public service, you know, fire, DPW, police can get to those calls when they need to. And I also think about our tax value. Our taxes have stayed down where our property values have gone up, so that's where you see the difference. I think and again, Tom, you have the McLennan family on a lot, and they say the same thing. The market is starting to slow down. And so I do see, you know, housing values starting to slip a little bit potentially, where you'll start seeing some of that savings again. But, you know, ultimately, I think Methewen's in the right track. It's in the right moment. And I think I continue to be a voice for Methuen.
How do people get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me on multiple ways. DiZoglioforMethuen.com, or email me at ngdizoglio@gmail.com or 978-476-5408.
All right, let's go with school committee member Jana Zanni-Pesce. Although she says it Pesce, I still think you say it wrong.
Well, listen, the correct Italian pronunciation, we speak dialect at home.
Okay.
So pesce means fish, a little education to people, right?
Yeah.
You probably see it on menus. But in dialect, you say, oh, pesce. So it's more authentic for our family, but the correct Italian pronunciation would be Jana Zanni-Pesce. Would actually be the proper.
So I'm half right.
Everything.
Anyway.
Listen, call me anything. Don't call me late for dinner.
All right. As long as you're cooking, that's what's really
Joe
most
Pesci
important.
says it wrong, though, right?
So he's a he is a school of fish. He has an I at the end.
Oh.
Listen, you had your 5 minutes.
Jana Zanni-Pesce.
He says DiZoglio, right? I didn't point this out.
It's DiZoglio, if you want to say it right.
Oh, don't say that. Now my editors are going to be...
You wanted a debate.
Yeah, here we go.
So I am not new to the Paying Attention podcast. I'm Jana Zanni-Pesce. I am running for councilor at large in Methuen. I have sat for almost 6 years on the school committee. I think I've been a really strong voice. I welcome anybody to watch the meetings. I know they can get lost sometimes. They can seem a little boring when you don't have a direct vested interest in what's going on in the meetings, but it's so important. I don't care if you have kids in the school. If you are a taxpayer in Methuen, our school budget is a large portion of your taxes. It is so imperative that you stay in tune with what's happening on the school side. I think I've done a really good job making sure that our money is spent well, that our students are taken care of, that everything is where it needs to be and progressing well on the school side. On a personal note, I have lived in Methuen my entire life. I grew up on the West End. I currently live on the East. And when it came time to consider running for another position, I did kind of weigh out whether or not I wanted to do East versus at large. Like Tom said earlier, large obviously encapsulates the entire city. I do have ties all over the city, being a lifelong resident, and I felt strongly about encompassing that entire resident population, which is why I am here. People who know me know how involved I've been in the city. I help any chance I get. I sometimes do it quietly in the back burner. Anybody who calls me, I think anybody you ask, I am always there to help however I can. And being a lifelong resident, I really feel like Methuen is in a pivotal state, and I've said it a few times. I think we're making progress, but we need to do better. And I think a big change is coming, and I want to be part of that change. One of my biggest attributes, being an attorney especially, is the ability to argue, for lack of a better word, the ability to disagree without being disagreeable, and the ability to bring people together for a meeting of the minds. And I think that's really important. When you sit on the council, you hear things, you hear difference of opinions. To be fair, this council is actually in agreement a lot of the time, which might make it good in some aspects, but I always think variety is good and different opinions are always good, because how do you see what really is truly the best decision if you're not getting the other side of the argument? So, diverse opinions are always good. I welcome it, but you need people with that sense of professionalism to be able to argue those points from a professional standpoint and still come back around and have the open-mindedness to do what's right in the end after weighing out all sides. So,
Jana Zanni-Pesce.
Okay, that was just horrible.
Tell people how they can get in touch with you. They want to help the campaign. Or whatever.
Yeah, so pesceforprogress.com is my website.
And it's P-E-S...
P-E-S-C-E.
C-E.
4 spelled out, F-O-R, progress.com. If you Google Zanni-Pesce Law Office, they can contact me that way.
Okay.
If you put my name into the internet, whatever, I'm all over because of school committee. So
yeah, that internet machine.
The internet machine.
Okay.
Put it in. Listen, I missed it by like 5 years. Like it just was a little bit too old to really get into that. They were just bringing in the computers. But
both of you took a really long time to do a very brief introduction. But we're going to give Francisco Surillo, you are chairman of the Greater Lawrence Tech School Committee, an opportunity to just introduce yourself, and then we're going to get into some really heavy topics.
Thank you, Tom. And I'll try to be brief.
Well, they already took some time, so take your time.
Thank you. My name is Francisco Surillo.
I'll keep him in his lane.
I'm currently the chairman of the Methuen Housing Authority, former chairman of the Greater Lawrence Tech, and first person from Methuen to do that in over 30 years. My record has been outstanding. As a chairman, I increased the numbers of students from GLTS from Methuen.
Can you just pull your mic up just a little bit so people can hear you better? There you go.
Increased the number of students from Methuen. I've worked on different programs as well as redoing the reopening plan for the school. One of the biggest things after COVID, which is something that we were ahead of all the other communities when it came to reopening. So we already had our students back during that time. Currently working on the urban redevelopment plan for a different city, which I'm going to bring that experience as a city councilor to the city of Methuen, as well as hopefully we're going to start looking at revitalizing the downtown area, because Methuen needs an attraction. We have a different state next to us that is taking more all our people, as well as trying to put more into infrastructure for parks and recreations for our young people, and look at housing development to make sure that we're keeping our young professionals in the city of Methuen instead of them going elsewhere. So
Tell people how they can get in touch with you.
Francisco Surillo, Methuen City Councilor at large, and Facebook.
And it's S-U-R, by the way, your name is the hardest name to spell because it can be spelled 100 different ways. It's S-U-R-I-L-L-O?
Correct.
Well, it would be Surillo, right?
Surillo.
Thank you. See, if we're going to do
Everybody tries not to be American. I love that. You know what show you're on?
But it's Surillo.
You started it.
Well, yeah.
Tom Duggan.
978-902-7137. frank.surillo@gmail.com.
All right, excellent. So let's just dive right into it. Neil Perry's running for his third term. He has not really been all that controversial, although during COVID there were some controversies, obviously. What are your thoughts on the mayor, and how will you work with him? What I really want is what do you agree with him on, what do you disagree with him on, how will you work with him? And anybody that wants to jump in, I want you guys to talk to each other, so you're not necessarily talking to me, and I'm going to stay out of it.
Early on,
chat.
the mayor and I didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things, and I think that was just because...
This is Nick DiZoglio for those who are listening at home.
These were just, I think, differences of opinions, and that's the thing about this council and this mayor and administration is we do have differences of opinions, and we've had many debates where I've even voted present or voted no, and I'm the only one sitting there on the no side. And a big thing recently was, a few of the contracts that came up. One was an IT contract that was bringing WebEx to the city. We have Zoom, we have Teams. Why do we need WebEx? And just so everyone knows, this is video conferencing and things like that. The city voted 8-1 on that. I was a no. I went to the mayor and I said,
Mayor. City Council voted.
Yes, correct. And so, working with the mayor, I can openly have that conversation with him saying, I disagree with this contract. And he will say, I get you. And, he has his way of delivering it. But I've always looked at any relationship with not just the mayor, but any other politician or even, someone that is going to bring something forth to the council. It could be a resident, it could be a department head, with respect of the job, because that is the job. Mm-hmm. There's no personal vendettas or anything like that but behind it for me. It's always been business is at that table. And when I walk away from that table, yeah, I might be a little ticked off about it, but at the end of the day, it was business.
Right.
And it's the business for the city. And everyone here in this community, I think even for Frank and for Jana that's coming into this, is doing it for the community. Their opinion is for the community. And the only way we can get any feedback from that is from the community. So if you want me to fight for you to go to the mayor and argue a point, I got to hear those facts too. But if not, I'm going to create my own opinion, go to the mayor, go to the council, and continue to do what I've been doing for the last 4 years, which is speaking on behalf of you of what's right for the taxpayer.
And I'll add on.
Whoever wants to jump in.
I know you want this to be like a Klein.
No, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I've had the chance, obviously, to work with Mayor Neil Perry on the school board. The mayor sits as the chair of the school committee. So, he was there navigating through COVID.
Is he a good mayor? I don't think Nick answered that either. But is he a good mayor? Do you think he's a good mayor?
I'll answer it. Okay. Yes, I do.
So I think he is. And I'll tell you one thing I like about the current mayor. And I keep going back to this, but his professionalism. And I think Nick hit it on the head when he said, there are times on the school board where I've disagreed with the mayor, but he never comes at you at really argumentative, right? Sometimes I feel, maybe, like any other person, he might dig his heels in, but he's always open to listen. I think that's really important when you're talking about a CEO of a company, which essentially that's what the mayor is. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, I know I keep coming back to it, but, how am I going to work with him? I'm going to work with him the same way I work with anybody. I've worked with Nick on the school committee in the past. I've worked with the mayor on the school committee. Even Frank, we did the the Greater Lawrence Tech After Dark program. We had a chance kind of to work indirectly together. But as long as you bring that degree, like Nick said, a degree of respect and an open-mindedness, you can work with anybody and work to find a solution.
Frank, are you going to let them get away with all this kumbaya stuff?
I mean, I'm the only one out of the three of us that has not worked with the mayor on a board. But into all reality, yeah, we all have to work together at some point. And no matter what it is, difference of opinions, I do my own research regardless of who brings what to me at the table. So I want to make sure that when I'm making my decisions based on the facts that's in front of me, whether it's the mayor, whether it's a constituent, I want to make sure that I'm going to be arguing for the best that's going to happen for the city of it.
Do you think the mayor's doing a good job? I'm sure you've seen some of the meetings.
I've seen some of the meetings. I mean, one of the biggest things I disagree with is that the mayor should not sit on the board.
As chairman of the school committee, you mean?
No. As sitting as part of the city council, I've seen that.
So I actually agree with that.
Okay.
I don't think that.
Nick, what do you think of that?
I don't know many cities that don't have a mayor at the meeting these days.
Well,
At the meeting is different than sitting as a chair.
Correct.
If you're talking about the school committee.
Sitting at.
He's
sitting
as
at
council,
city
sitting
council.
with the council.
Sitting with the council. So this,
Oh,
yeah.
I think you need a liaison.
You need
You
a
need a
liaison.
liaison, but
No,
not
I
sitting at
think
the
it should
council.
be.
Not
That-
sitting
that-
there.
But he doesn't have a vote.
He don't has a vote on
He doesn't have a
So I
vote,
think
but
that's-
it brings the
should be similar to the school
misconception that
committee.
any mayor, not just, and I'm not going to say Perry, but any mayor sitting there with the council makes a perception that he has more control of the council than anything.
I think
I
if
think I
you
agree with that.
Yeah, but if you follow
not that
Methuen
it matters,
politics,
but-
if you follow Methuen politics,
do.
you would disagree with that statement completely. I don't think any mayor has ever shown complete control over.
No, I think it's the
council.
other
I
way
think there's a lot of
around.
fighting.
I feel like there's a lot
the
of
council.
going back at
So
the mayor.
for that,
Yeah,
we
I
go back to
agree.
the town manager position.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
Which I
that's
dis-
different
which I
topic. I
disagree.
disagree.
Different
with
Which I
that,
disagree
so.
with.
Well, that's a good question. So, do you think that Methuen maybe should go back to, given some of the problems that Methuen has had with this form of government, do you think we should go back to the town manager form of government? No?
I think I'll answer that
don't.
one first.
I don't.
No, I doubt. I disagree with that.
Yeah?
Because with all the challenges this council or this administration has had, they've led the city through $4 million of a deficit from the school department. They led
And be careful how you say that, though. But okay, go
You
ahead.
mean the $4 million missing dollars? I'll say it the way he's not saying it.
Yeah, that's fine, but
But no,
it's not
I
just
mean-
a deficit in the schools. It was very deliberately traced. So
I'm being nice when it comes to that because as a school committee member, we always have to make sure that.
This is not the show to be nice on, by the way.
yeah, Tom doesn't want you to be nice. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Nice is not
No.
what gets you here.
Because I actually like these two people.
Well, that doesn't change.
That doesn't change anything. But at the end of the day, we've had struggles in the city. This administration, this council has led through some of the toughest issues, especially with COVID, to move the city forward. But we could always do better.
So all of you have sat on a school committee. Right now, Jane is on the Methuen School Committee. Nick used to be on the Methuen School Committee. And Francisco is on the Greater Lawrence Tech School Committee. I get complaints in my office, at least 5 to 10 a week, from parents in the community, whether it's Methuen, Lawrence, North Andover, or the Voc, about all this diversity, equity, inclusion baloney, teaching kids about transgenderism. I know it's not really much of a thing for the city council, but the city council does have to approve the school budget. So I'm going to ask you, especially considering all of you have been on or are on a school committee, should it be the role of government or government schools to be talking about sex with kids under the age of maybe high school? With all of this transgender bathrooms and all this other stuff and teaching kids that they can be gender fluid. Is that something schools should be doing?
Since I'm currently on the school committee, I'll start with that. That's a really difficult topic, number one.
That's why I brought it up.
No, it's fine. But what I'm saying is not it's a difficult topic to talk about. It's a difficult idea to unroll, right? I feel personally that as a society, generally, we've been kind of thrown all of this really, really fast. So everyone's trying to, modify everything really quickly, and I don't think we're doing the best job. So I think when you ask that question, and this is totally personal for me, and socially, I am extremely liberal. I believe you do you, I do me. I don't have a problem with anybody. But when you talk about, you kind of lumped together a whole bunch of different things there.
Right.
But when you talk about certain things, I think you need to break it up. Like kids, under 10. High schoolers can handle a lot more. But not talking about these things with our students is really ill preparing them, because that's not real life.
But is that the job
right?
of government, I guess is my question, isn't that the job of the parents? Because
To
the schools might
prepare-
be talking about gender issues that the parents don't necessarily agree with, even for religious reasons.
But it should be like anything else, right? They should be made aware of it without being taught how to think about it. My idea about school is you're being exposed to something. If you are teaching students and children correctly, they can then form their own opinions, right? But they need to be exposed to everything. So not putting it in the schools, I think, is a bit of a disadvantage. But I think force-feeding it and kind of pushing it into every orifice of everything right now might have a negative effect as to what we're trying to accomplish.
I want to piggyback on that, as well as making sure that the parents are aware that,
That's a
that
big
this is
deal.
happening,
Yep.
because the parents also have a say in their kids' education.
Yeah.
So the parents should be aware what the students are being taught and have the ability to opt out.
Okay.
If they want to. But yeah, the education has to start somewhere. But force feeding everything not to allow the kids to formulate their own opinion, or the parents allowed to have the decision whether they want their kids to learn this, is definitely something that we shouldn't be doing.
But let me just clarify. Sorry, Nick, and I'll give you a chance. I do not think it should be part of necessarily like curriculum.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we have larger issues in our schools right now.
See,
if you
this is where I was going. I didn't want to harp on.
Well, let's ask Mr. HR over here.
So,
from the proletariat.
Look at MCAS.
So,
Oh my God,
you know,
MCAS. Let's not even talk about
I
that
think
yet.
there are an array of issues, and not just our school district, in a lot of school districts across the Commonwealth right now. And I think that's because our state hasn't really taken a stance on proper education curriculum. I mean, how many times are we going to change a rating program over the last 5 years? How many times are we going to tell students this is how you do math, and then the next year it's a different program?
Right.
My wife's a teacher. She's done like 3 different programs in the last 4 years, and I know Methuen's done several different programs in the last few years, and it's just rewriting this course. We need an audit of the school department. And I think and that's something that has been on the agenda to discuss right after this new council comes in. I'm pretty sure that the mayor is.
You talking about a financial audit or like a management audit?
Management and curriculum
Yeah, I
audit.
agree with that.
Full over.
That bothers me a little, though,
Oh,
only
really?
because
Okay, good.
not
I'm with Nick on this one, so
No,
you're gonna
not
have a
the
hard time.
audit. I don't disagree with the audit. I disagree with the fact that the council kind of usurped the duties of the school committee and required and kind of forced us.
Yeah, but if you guys aren't doing it,
So
why
let's
not
just
let,
say that-
let them?
But
They
we-
have oversight.
But remember,
over $100 million now is our school budget. We bought
That's a lot of money.
We bought a building.
Huge.
We bought a building, which is fine. It's necessary. I think we could have spent the money in a different way or got grant funding for another option. But we spent $10 million, added a bunch of positions to this building. Yes, we got some space, but yet we're still overcrowding. So what are we going to do? What, redistrict? We don't want to say that word. What are you going to do? You have to build a building somewhere.
Right.
You gotta build something, and it's not even so much the kids that we lost that are coming back. It's students coming in with IEPs or some sort of special needs that needs to be taken care of. These numbers of language barriers are all raised in our city, and we're not pivoting correctly in that direction. We're rushing towards it. And I think the school committee has done a great job over the last few years on trying to handle it. But I think our administration overall, and I've been a huge advocate for schools, and no one here can deny that, I just think we're paying attention in the wrong direction the last year or two.
Francisco, what do you think of all this?
We have to build more schools, and Nick is right, because we are getting overcrowded in our schools. But looking at how we do it, and the audit should stay with the school committee, not the city council, because that's where the separation of power comes in. And we got to remember, we have an elected school committee that has to deal with this. Now, if they're not doing their job, case in point, Lawrence
up to the voters.
It's up to the voters. I mean, 2 years, we vote them out and get them out, just like any elected official in the city or any elected office. But it should stay, the audit should happen. That's for sure.
I don't want to cut you off, but you can't get 5 people to run for the school committee. All due respect. So
listen. I'll just throw it out. I mean, I don't know if it's part of it. Like, obviously, I'm still running, but you guys. I thought it was insulting when we raised the salaries, and the school committee makes pittance. Just so we know. And I love when people come to the meetings. It really.
School committee shouldn't make anything. It should be a volunteer job.
You can't get people to run now, Tom.
You could make it
the
$80
amount
million.
of hours.
You could pay them $80 million each, and you're still not going to get people to run.
I disagree
It's not the salary.
with you. I
Francisco,
think
Lawrence,
it is.
Methuen School Committee gets paid. Greater Lawrence District Committee members from Methuen do not get paid.
Right.
So when we want to talk about raising elected officials stipends or
jumping
salaries,
topics here.
now
Yeah, sorry.
we're
That's all right.
talking.
Doesn't
We're talking
That's all
about.
right. Free flow.
I mean, if we want to compare Methuen to Lawrence, look at.
Well, I'm not talking about Lawrence. I'm talking about the district committee.
Trade or
District committee from Methuen.
Yeah.
Me, Tom Hayden, and anybody that runs from Methuen.
Does Lawrence?
Does anyone?
Does
Yeah, I
not
was
get
just going to
paid.
ask that.
Does
Do the Lawrence
Lawrence
members
pay?
get paid?
They don't get paid.
Yeah,
Even
they
the school
don't.
committee in Lawrence doesn't get paid.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're under
So-
oversight.
No,
oversight.
There's,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
even when
even
they weren't,
way
they weren't
before
getting paid
way
for
before oversight.
I never
weren't
got paid
getting
when I was on the school committee. I don't think
So-
anybody should get paid, but I'm not running.
But it's where people
I don't
cut
look
their
at it
teeth
being
as government.
paid, and I don't look at it as a salary. I look at it as a stipend. I take that money and I put it right back. It's not like it's paying my bills.
Yeah, it's a lot of time.
The amount of the scholarships I donate, the programs I donate to, you get a check from me.
Yep.
I put all that money back into the students and in the city.
Good, Francisco. They cut you off.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But at the end of the day, I mean, the school definitely needs an audit, financially as well as everything else. When we're looking at that, where the school committee and we can't get 5 people to run for the school committee, then guess what? We have to go out there and really advocate for this. Or we look at making sure some of those seats are appointed.
Well, and part of the problem with getting people to run is city politics itself. It's thankless.
Right into my next question.
City
Why you
politics
brought it up.
becomes
I'm like the
issue.
poster child for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing sometimes, the political agendas of some of the people in official capacity. Even
We interviewed about 15 people who had said that they were thinking of running 6 months ago, who ended up not running, and asked them, why did you decide not to run? Because I pushed very hard to try and get any candidate that I could into the race. And the answer that we got most often, the highest response that we got on that question was that local politics is too dirty and the people who run the inside are too powerful. And the average person doesn't think they can change anything because they think that if they get in, they're just going to get overwhelmed by the insiders.
That's sad, though. That's sad.
So how do you guys as
case.
candidates, and if you get elected as elected officials, how do you change that perception?
By being accessible. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, right? And I've always said that in any campaign I've ever run. Accessibility is huge because we can think we're doing what's best for whatever capacity we're serving in, but at the end of the day, we're one person, right? You asked how the mayor's doing.
Right.
The mayor's doing the best he thinks he's doing. Nick's doing the best he thinks he's doing. Francisco's doing the best he thinks he's doing. But we're only one thought, one person.
One vote.
And we have to make ourselves open-minded
Do you
to
think
everybody else.
transparency is going to get people more?
I love when people say transparency. It's like a buzzword.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what transparency? Yeah. What transparency? Listen, there are certain things.
Well, right now there's no transparency.
Well, I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we televise everything now. Zoom has made it really accessible for people to watch the meetings. You know how many people watch the school committee meetings? They have these hot topics, and I mean, to keep going back to the school committee, but even when you were on it, and the council is similar. How many people are in the audience when there's no hot topic? Right? Then there's a hot topic, everyone's there, and then everyone's gone again. We need people to be involved. This affects them.
But how? The question is how, Frank. How do you get people to give a damn about their? I mean, after everything that's gone on in the schools, you don't have enough candidates to run. You got sticker candidates running, and you have in the West End the 2 people who, because you guys cancel primaries, which is my next question, because you guys don't hold primaries.
You guys, who's you guys?
Council.
Don't point to me, guys.
Don't point to me. It's the
Don't
council.
point to we guys.
You have 2
Us two who didn't counsel anything. And I understand, and I agree with. First of all, I agree with you, Tom. The primary should have happened. That's how candidates also know where they stand in the community and where they need to actually put more work in, or to get people that if a district or the school committee doesn't have any candidates, then we have people that come out.
Right,
and
as
run the
write-ins.
stickers, as write-ins.
Most people think that the purpose of a primary is to eliminate candidates. In Methuen, you guys don't hold primaries unless there's like a whole bunch of people. But the other purpose of holding a primary is if you've got a race, like you just said, in the West End, you've got 2 people running for 2 jobs. If there was a primary in that race anyway, even though there's only 2, you might have had 3 or 4 people step forward with a write-in campaign, and the voters would have had 4 people to choose from on the November ballot.
Just like school committee day, we have a couple of people writing in now, but if they would have done it in the primaries, then they would have been on the ballot.
Right.
Same
And
with,
everybody would be on the equal footing, which is why I call it the Incumbent Protection Act.
Write-ins aren't as easy as people.
Well,
they're not easy.
I got on the Lawrence
I
School
remember
Committee
you did.
on a write-in
Yeah.
because there were 3 incumbents who pulled papers, but they didn't turn them. Well, one of them didn't turn them back in. You had 2 people on the ballot for three spots. Myself and a girl named Jennifer Lopez both ran on write-ins in the primary, which meant both of our names went on the final ballot.
Right.
So what I hear from incumbents like Nick when we have this conversation, I hear, well, they can run on write-ins in the final. But you can win
That's
with like
hard.
3 votes in the final.
When did I say this?
I don't know. You said sometime.
I went back and I watched our last debate
Pull up
when
the
you ran
clip.
2 years ago. Yes. So, Nick, you promised, by the way, when you were here 2 years ago, that you would consider at least
Singing?
I don't think
Singing? You sing?
I don't think you made a full commitment, but you always committed to consider changing the charter so that you have primaries no matter what, like all the other real communities do.
So I'm not sure. So we've been pushing to get a charter change, and that is something that's been on the agenda for a few months now. And I think that is something that I and a few of the other incumbents, if they join as well, and the new council, will really push for a charter committee in the next round, because we really do need to do it. We've had a lot of topics that come up in the
But that's all very vague. I want to know if you are going to be pushing
the primary
for a primary, because primaries allow people to run on write-ins, not just eliminate people.
I don't have an opinion of it. I think it's if the city was calling for it. I mean, if it's in the charter, or if it's a Secretary of State thing.
What's in the charter?
I need, again, I'm fine with a primary. It doesn't bother me. More the merrier. But it does cost cities a lot of money, and at this point, we didn't have a necessary need to have one.
I would disagree. Anybody else disagree?
I disagree because we do have 2 contested races, and as well,
I have
it gives
4. Oh no! I'm sorry. Contested?
3. Yeah, it's ours, East, and Central.
Yeah, Central's got.
So we have
East, Central,
3.
and Mayor.
And Mayor.
So it's 4.
Well, technically, those who are going to go would have gone to the finals anyway, because there's only them 2. But if we had a primary,
But there could have been more.
It could have been more.
No, it couldn't
No.
have been.
You always knock down 2 for mayor. That's right.
Knocked down 2.
Sorry.
But there definitely could have been opportunities for everybody.
Yeah,
else
and in the
their
West, you could
other
have had 4
different races.
candidates instead of 2. And in the school committee, you
but it
could have
does-
had 10 candidates.
And not to cut you off, Tom, but and I will agree with you, Nick, that it does cost money. But at the end of the day, do we save that money because we don't have the primary, or do we use that money wisely and get more people to run because now we open up the field for people to come out and run?
I mean, again, I agree. More people to run is a great thing, for a community. You and I and Janet all went around and got 150 signatures. So, I mean, we put some work into this, too. So I'm just saying.
But not for anything. When is it, what is the date for pulling papers, and what is the date for turning them in?
It's a fair amount of time.
It's a 2-month gap.
Yeah,
It's a fair amount of
what is
time.
the date? What
It's
month is
usually
it?
May
Maybe
7th.
the end of, wasn't it the end of May, and then you hand it in?
In July.
Yeah,
In
July, May
Yeah, something like
23rd
that,
and
yeah.
July 23rd or something like that.
I mean, it's a good
August
amount of
8th,
time.
yeah.
What I don't agree with
But
is
that's so far away from the election, nobody's thinking about elections. In Lawrence, you could turn them in. It goes right to. It goes
For the
right
last
to,
10 years
to-
of
it goes
elections-
August to
Yeah,
September.
Out of the last 10 years that I've been running, I know May's coming around and I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
So anyone
Yeah,
that's
but you're a political
interested-
junkie. The average
No,
person's
I'm
not a political
I don't
junkie.
think I'm a political
But
junkie.
in Lawrence, they pull in April, and they go all the way to July. So you have the opportunity to really start.
Didn't it used to be September for or the end of August for Lawrence?
First part of August.
Oh,
First part
see,
of
we have an
August.
expert in the audience.
August.
Thank you, Rich.
But then you put it in April and you put it in the work. But also, and what I disagree with is the fact that when you're getting elected, you're getting the votes, the majority of the votes. It doesn't matter from which district.
I was just going to say the exact same thing.
So the fact that we're going, you have to get 50 from here, 50 from over here, 50
Same
from
with
over
the
here.
school committee,
Same
too.
thing with the school committee. Same thing, both school
Yeah,
committees.
it's ridiculous.
That's what I disagree with.
Yeah,
So
you're
that's
better off
something
getting
that we-
150 from wherever.
No matter where.
Citywide. That's what.
I
That's,
agree.
I think I
that's
said.
something.
Do you
I think I
understand
said
what
this
we're talking
before.
about right now? Yeah,
But I don't
do
know that people at home do.
No.
So you're
So-
saying when you go to get signatures to
At
get on the
large.
ballot,
When,
you need
only for
school committee,
citywide positions.
citywide. You got to
position.
get certain signatures from each
So
district.
50,
Right.
50 from the
50,
east, 50 from
50
the
from
west,
Central.
Instead of
50
just
from the
going to your
central.
neighborhood and getting 150 votes.
Except
from your neighborhood.
starting in
But you
one
could
place
be
and-
elected. You could be elected solely from your neighborhood.
Right.
Sure.
If
But-
if they show
Right.
up. So
If
I
you
mean,
get
I believe that anyone should get on the ballot. You want to run, get it on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it does show a little bit of commitment at least to do this. But I mean, it's insane some of the times.
But I've
and
seen some really good write-in candidates right now doing some really good campaigns right now.
I agree with
They're
you.
more aggressive with the
more
campaigns
aggressive with the
because they're
campaigns.
write-in.
You know, I mean, there's some really good campaigns out there. I'm not going to stint for anyone, but actually, the only one running for Greater Lawrence, Bradley Jones, is doing a great job.
He is doing a great job.
Him and Haitian will do a great
His daughter's
Yeah, he's
running his
been
campaign.
everywhere.
She does
Yeah.
a great job.
They're doing a great job.
But he's got his name out.
He's got his names out.
Got his name up. And he
So-
has to tie with the school.
So
Big tie.
what do you guys think about the tax rate in Methuen? Because I think the one thing that does get people's attention is how much they're going to pay in taxes, whether it's business or residents. Are they paying too much for what they're getting? Are they paying not enough for what they're getting? Whoever wants it.
I'd love to hear the realtor's opinion on this.
Am I the realtor? Listen, I'll speak as an attorney. I'll speak as an
As a
attorney
real estate
broker.
attorney.
Real estate attorney.
As a real estate attorney and as an attorney broker who holds our license, and as I think probably one of the highest taxpayers in Methuen.
Oh, okay.
No, really, right? So, I have my business.
I saw what your house is with. She's not
No,
buying.
not my house. I have a small business, Tom. So I'm
business
paying
owner.
commercial
Right.
and I'm paying residential,
You're
right?
paying a hell of a lot in residential.
I'm paying a hell of a lot everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think it's funny. I think that people complain about taxes. This is like the age-old complaint, right? People who are going to complain about taxes are going to complain about taxes. We're pretty comparable with I like to compare us to North Andover, right? We're pretty comparable right now. The problem with Methuen is obviously some of the neighboring more wealthy cities or towns have higher assessed values for houses, so they get more tax revenue, even though the amount might be dollar for dollar the same.
Mm-hmm.
My concern is more, what are we getting for it? And you alluded to that a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to think long term. I know they have the master plan that they're working on, but I think we need to think larger in terms of long term. I know I was asked certain questions in this run about, tax exemptions for, let's say, 55 and over developments. Who doesn't want a tax exemption?
Right.
Of course we do, but let's call facts facts. There is no way that the council is going to approve a tax exemption for communities that were sold to this city as being pure tax revenue, no burden on the city, until we get our budget completely in control and have a surplus, right? Then so that's my question.
So
How do
is
we
Methuen
budget?
spending too much? Is that the problem? We're spending too much?
I don't know if we're spending too much, Tom. I want to get in there. I want to see where exactly we're spending, right? I want to see what we can do to spend better. I mean, the cost of living is going up. We go to the supermarket. Everybody sees how much everything costs.
Right.
Everything's out of whack now. Salaries are out of whack. Things that were all in line. I mean, you have, people working entry-level positions. My son was making $14.50 an hour at Canopy Lake. I worked for $4.25. I'm like, sign me up, right? So it's distorting our whole view on everything right now. But I think, again, we need to look at that, and we need to look at the long-term view. How are we going to make our tax dollars work for us? Because once we do that, and once we spend well, then we can look at other things to alleviate some of the burdens on our senior citizens, right? On or maybe people who don't get full services in Methuen. But right now, we're not there.
Gentlemen, you going to let her get away with all that?
No, I think what she said is not too far off. I think Methuen has done a great job, though, with its budget and its means. We've been in the black 4 years in a row. We've been able to spend and pay off debts, and our bond rating is as high as ever.
Is that because of COVID money, or is that because of good management?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both.
And oversight.
And the oversight, but I think the CAFO position's a great position, too, to keep. I think I've had my interactions with the state when it came to when we were being, part of that oversight. But really, Cronin didn't do a lot. It was really Maggie, our CAFO, doing a lot of the work and decision-making here. And I think she's done a great job as a city CAFO. I think the council has been very conservative year over year looking at budgets. I think the mayor has been conservative year over year. When departments ask for 9 heads, they get 2 heads. I mean, it's been a conservative time frame. Now, COVID money and state money and grant money, whatever you want to say, packaging it together, Methuen has got a good deal of it to put towards true needs. And I think it was bound time for us to get a few extra dollars. Communities around us like Lawrence, Haverhill, have gotten millions of dollars to increase their infrastructures, their downtowns, and their programs. And look at us.
But that's a lot of going out and searching for those grants that are out
fine.
there.
You're absolutely right.
So being aggressive getting those grants is what gets those communities.
I'm not defending Lawrence or Haverhill here.
I know, I'm just saying.
I just want to say, let me finish here before we start defending Lawrence and Haverhill.
I'm not defending anybody. I'm just saying, we have to be more aggressive going after that.
But a lot of this money is also coming from our delegation. So, our new delegation here too, which is, again, favoring one side over the other sometimes, I feel. really needs to come in and look at our problems in Methuen. Mental health is huge.
I'm gonna agree and stop you there as well, because you're right. A lot of it does come from the delegation. But the last time the delegation came before the city council, they got bombarded with something that had nothing to do with the needs of the city of Methuen, which is
the needs of Methuen.
I'm so enjoying
the west side of Methuen. The west side of Methuen right now. The state dropped.
No, let me stop you right there. No.
You said something that's not incorrect.
They were there to see what the needs are, what infrastructure money they should be bringing in, what money for schools and everything. They got bombarded about something completely different. So they walked away from the table. And you're right. We need to get them back on the table. The state delegation is what's going to help us bring that money back. But we also have to respect them in their position, not to put them in a position that they don't need to be in.
A position that's cost the city of Methuen hundreds of thousands of dollars. The state house has dropped people in Methuen in a business, a hostile environment that is not. I wouldn't even send my worst enemy to that location. I wouldn't put a homeless.
Can we stop being
purpose.
vague, because the people at home don't know what you're talking about?
It's a totally bigger issue, though.
The days in.
That's a whole separate issue.
But
what he's talking about is we did a whole show on it. The delegation, State Senator Pavel and State Representatives Polino and Reyes and Hamilton, came before you guys, and they wanted to talk about police funding and school funding, and all you could talk about was, why won't you sign our letter condemning Joe Solomon?
Oh, that's a
and they all walked away, and they all called me and said how horrified they were at the unprofessionalism of the council. And Pavel even said that night, he said, we just left Lawrence and Haverhill, and they wanted to ask us questions that were substantive, like taxes and schools, and all you guys want to talk about is a letter? And at the end of that, even after he said that, nobody really had any questions about police or schools or taxes or bringing community businesses in.
That's not true.
Everyone's using it as a claim to fame.
No, that's not true, because if you go back to that video, I brought up the hotel, and I was told that I was being insensitive.
Yeah, that's our next topic, too.
You were insensitive?
I was.
I like insensitive, though. I give points for that.
Why were you insensitive?
Because I was being called, I think it was called a racist.
Yeah, I think you were too.
You are?
Okay, because I don't want people staying in that hotel.
You guys are talking about two different issues here.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking about what happened after, but he's talking about...
I'm talking about that council meeting that he brought up, and I'm thinking of the hotel. I'm not thinking about the Joe Solomon situation.
Right.
But, I mean, that hotel should be shut down because of all the millions of violations.
They have a history of issues there.
And yet
but isn't that always going to happen? Listen, when you bring in a bunch of illegal aliens,
they're not illegal aliens. All
right,
of
well,
them.
you can say that,
if any.
But the only reason they're not illegal aliens is because the president is making them legal residents.
They're not migrants
after
all
they
of
come
them either.
In, all right.
Majority of those families are homeless families in our communities.
Who are from Methuen?
No, from Massachusetts.
Well, this is the problem. So I guess this goes to my next question.
Forget who they are, though. They're there.
They're
right?
there.
We have to, as human beings, we have to take care of them. I'm looking at more as a larger issue. Right? Mm-hmm. Why are they there? Why was
You're
this?
talking about homeless people.
No.
Anybody.
I'm talking about anybody. That hotel
should be shut down.
Yes. And why wasn't it even beforehand? These are and literally
I'm stunned by
conditions. No, really. No. So I've had on the school side, and I think even when you were on it, there have been issues with that hotel as long as I can remember. And it's a shame that anybody in the city could take advantage of a situation and put us as a city in the situation we're in now.
The hotel,
which is what? What is the situation for people at home?
The cost of funding the situation we're in now, and I can only talk really about the school side.
Yeah.
There's I don't know the exact numbers. It is fewer than we thought it was originally, but we have kids with IEPs, kids who need special transportation, kids who need, there's a huge cost associated with this. And guess what? As much as we're trying to get reimbursement
from the state. But when you say this, you're still not explaining to people at home what this is. What is this? What is going on at this hotel? I say it's illegals, it's immigrants. You say it's not immigrants. You say it's homeless.
I didn't say it wasn't immigrants.
Nick says it's homeless families. So it's just...
No, let me rephrase. This hotel is being used as a homeless shelter. You can't go there tomorrow to get a room if you wanted to stay there. It is being used as a full shelter by the state of Massachusetts.
Right.
The state across the Commonwealth is dropping families off at these hotels that are on a state bid list.
And none of them are illegal aliens, you're telling me.
I said they're not all migrants.
I actually
said
feel
migrants.
bad for
Migrants.
the
I'm
people
talking about
staying in
illegal
that
aliens.
hotel.
Well, I mean, they also come in, and there's not the resource dollars that come with it. And I'm going to talk about the school side because there are dollars associated with a student that goes into schools. So if we're bringing people in and we're not bringing the extra money resources that's going to go with the kids to help these families, then we're not doing anything. And if we're putting them in the days in, and I would say it's a crime because that place should have been shut down decades ago.
I'm stunned to hear you guys say you want to shut down a business, though.
I'm not shutting
But it's
down
not
a
a
business.
business.
I'm
It's
shutting
not-
down
that
a
hasn't
place
been
that
a
has.
hotel in a long
It's
time.
not a
That's my
business.
feeling.
It's being used as a shelter, and it's not zoned to be a shelter.
Right, but the people who own it are making money on a hotel that the state is paying them money.
Yeah, they're
Top
taking advantage of a
dollar.
situation.
Right.
Not putting money into housekeeping, not putting money into
I
food.
feel bad for the people staying there.
The hotels aren't, the rooms aren't being cleaned. The kitchens have been condemned. The dining room was
I
condemned.
want to say it's infested with bed bugs.
Yeah, the children. I mean,
the
it's
kids
not
are
right.
coming-
Rooms have been shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, this is sad. Like, it is sad.
is.
And you know what's even worse about this is I went in one day and I dropped off coloring books and crayons. And someone at the front desk goes, "Oh, it's about time someone from the city did something." And I said, "Really? Because it's your boss that's allowing this to happen."
Right.
You know, Mike Saman had to walk me out of there. I am truly sickened and saddened by allowing that hotel to continue. And believe me, we are finding them daily now. And at the next city council meeting, win or lose, I am still going to be asking for the total cost that hotel is continuously raising up a bill right now in fines. It's a drain on our public safety.
Schools.
In our schools. It's sad when you have the youngest person in there like 2 weeks old. It's not right.
And by the way, that hotel back in the day was a gorgeous hotel.
I stayed there about 10 years
It
ago.
was a conference center.
yeah.
It was a nice hotel. I remember.
It's a shame.
I mean, at the end of the day, we have to get the resources because people need to be helped. This place, if we're going to get the resources, then this place needs to be brought up to code. There's no way around it. We have to start looking at the shelters. There's a shelter issue everywhere in the Commonwealth. Right now in the Commonwealth, there's over 200,000 housing shortage. And I'm not even going to try to touch the number of how many shelters are out there. Because we want to talk about this issue. Let's talk about this issue. We label things affordable. And guess what? It's not affordable.
No, nothing's affordable.
Nothing's affordable. It's a nice tagline to put onto things, affordable housing. But guess what? It's not affordable. It's never going to be affordable. And then we're losing our young people, professionals elsewhere. We're losing our elderly population that can't live in the place, they've had for years, raise their families in, and they have to go somewhere else. And they leave Methuen because there's nothing in Methuen for them to really call home anymore. And that's both the young and the old. I just got back from Lewiston, Maine, where they're facing the same problem. Different than Methuen, Lawrence, or our surrounding communities, but they also have the same problem where the housing stock is not there. So they're losing their young professionals as well as
And part of their problem is you've got all these Somalis that are being brought in by the federal government into Lewiston, Maine, that is putting more of a strain on. I mean, with all the illegal aliens coming into the country en masse, millions of them at a time. And you guys can all smile because I know it's
Tom. It's fine.
tough topic. But listen, when we don't have room for the veterans that are sleeping on our streets.
I agree with that.
agree with
that.
Right?
I agree
We
with
don't
that.
have American citizens sleeping on our streets because there isn't enough housing. And we're importing more people. Like, forget why or
Listen,
how, but we're importing more
I
people.
scratch my head too about like the city of Boston. It's Boston, I know.
Boston.
The Sheraton Hotel, that large Sheraton over at Prudential Tower, that hotel just went up for sale. Northeastern bought it. They're building dormitories in there that they're going to probably charge $15,000 a room for.
Right.
More than that.
How amazing would it be if that was a homeless shelter? How amazing would that have been to be a shelter in place where the state could have put people in? That would have had 300 rooms, 400 rooms right there.
Well, this brings me right into my next topic, Mr. DiZoglio, because as a member of TMF, I'm wearing my TMF sweater today. That's the movement family. They're the people who feed the homeless in Lawrence every Wednesday night, and actually every day they're out there doing it. We come across, I would say in my own personal calculation, that at least a quarter of the people who are living in tents in Lawrence right now, who come to TMF for dinners on Wednesday nights, are from Methuen. And we ask them when they sign up, if you want to just give your street name because you don't want to use your real name, that's fine. But can you sign up with your name and where you're from? And at least a quarter of them, at least, say they're from Methuen. And when we ask them, why are you here? It's because in Methuen, there's no place for them to go. You guys are going to be on the city council if you win. What will you do for Methuen residents that become homeless through maybe sometimes no fault of their own? What are you going to do to service your own homeless so that they're not being pushed into Lawrence and Lawrence is stuck with the burden of taking care of them?
I think we got to look at the programs that we're providing before it gets there.
So you want to look at it?
No, not at all, because look at what we're doing for our senior citizens right now. Our senior programs are right now, we're giving seniors assistance, we're giving veteran assistance. We don't have, if you're thinking there's going to be a homeless shelter built in downtown Methuen, I personally don't see how we can.
I don't care where it is, but Methuen should be taking care of their own. Just like North Andover and Andover should take care of their own.
Which is what irks me about the Days Inn situation, by the way.
Yeah,
we could have put our homeless there.
Right, that's where I'm going. You know what I mean? That's where I'm going.
So, but if we had the right facilities, we do not have the right facilities in Methuen.
So what will you do to bring the right facility or get the right facility?
If we have a better hotel situated. But I think ultimately it's finding these people the right programs to get back on their feet, not to run away from it. Some of it isn't just finances. Some of it's also mental health. We need to help.
So,
a lot of our
I will agree with
Francisco, you straddle both communities, so you're kind of an expert on this. You've come to TMF. You work in Lawrence. You work for Lawrence Mayor Brian DePina. You're in community development, but you're also a Methuen resident. So
economic development.
I'm sorry, economic development.
And I work along through all that or across the state.
Right.
So it's not just. I mainly focus on two communities, with Methuen being the first community, and
shouldn't Methuen have some kind of
we need
homeless
to create,
center for their own people?
We need to create a place where Lawrence is thinking about it, Methuen needs to start looking at it, and it needs to be created. But we also have to partner with the right agencies as well, because we just can't put a shelter. We have to provide services as well, and it has to be a whole wraparound services around people, because they suffer from mental health, they suffer from not being able to from financial literacy, and one of the biggest problems, civic. So getting these programs together into one location is not going to solve the issue, but it's going to start. But we also have to make sure that we're, case in point, making sure that we're doing Methuen residents
right
first before anything else.
Right.
Every other community has to start doing this their own, and I believe in one of the things. You and I have talked about is how many people are being bussed down here from other communities.
That's right.
From Boston and everywhere else. Nobody's looking at really looking at the key factors to start addressing this issue. There's a lot of professionals that are living in shelters because they can't afford the rents with their families or be able to buy homes. The cost of living is astronomical. So we have to start looking at how we doing that. One of the things, and we talk about the urban redevelopment plan, one of the things, and I'm on the chair of Methuen Housing. I've had for over 24 years public housing experience. We have to really look at how we make it affordable for our people. And one of the things is, and not to take anything, but stealing ideas from other communities, Lawrence has a $50,000 down payment assistance. Methuen could start doing that to help our young professionals and you mean
for first-time home buyers?
For first-time home buyers. That way we're helping them with at least the down payment to stay in the community.
Lawrence does that directly for individuals? Because I got a first-time home buyer.
But you have to buy in the community. You can't just use the down payment and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I got a first-time home buyer.
So that's something that the city of Methuen can do.
Francisco, you bring up a good point. So what can Methuen do? Given the shortage of housing stock, given that more millions of people being pumped into the country and some of them making their way to Methuen, when we don't have enough room for the people who are here, what do we do? What do you do as a city councilor to help improve the housing stock?
It's smart growth. So you have to look at where we're going to actually look at building housing. Methuen Public Housing right now, that's one of the next things on my agenda is we have to increase our housing stock. There's no way around that because our list is astronomical like any other housing authority, but we don't have the capability to bring in our people off the list.
What do you mean by increase our housing stock?
housing stock needs to increase. That's what's going to
Like build
increase.
more?
Build more housing. But we have to be strategic at where we put in it.
So here's
we can't just say, oh, let's do it on the east end or the west end. We have to make sure that we're doing it in places.
Why not? We're doing it with car washes and storages. Why not housing?
What's the big problem with the car wash?
Yeah.
I don't understand the controversy.
No, I want to stay on this topic.
All right,
I was just
go
being a
ahead.
No,
white
I
guy.
mean, I'm actually kind of interested
I
in
think at
where
the end of the day, housing needs to be done smart,
correct,
and strategically.
Yeah, but what does that mean to
You
the
can't
average
ju-
person?
You can't
though?
just
So-
you can't
so
just
for
put
me-
a building a house.
No, you can't. But for me, if in one of the things is TDI, transit-oriented developments, where we're building around transit. Right now, the Loop area is right connected to 213. So anybody that lives in that area is not going to be a burden driving to work because they could take 213, hit 495. They could take 213, hit 93.
Have you ever been on that in the morning?
Falls.
I have.
Falls.
It is.
Add another 300 cars to that list.
And it could
And
be
it's already
expanded.
a
So
mess.
there's a lot of tax dollars that could come, that grant money that we could come to expand that as well.
There's a lot of
But we have to be
traffic there.
aggressive when we're going there. And yes, I go up down 213 to 495.
So do I every single day,
Every
and there is
morning.
ridiculous traffic.
And it's not even
Ridiculous.
just because of the cars. It's because of the sun glare too in the morning. So it,
don't know about the sun glare,
oh,
but-
there's a sun glare
It's
traffic
tough.
jam there that changed. So I think if you're looking at redeveloping the Loop area and putting like a housing and mixed living situation there, all for it. But transportation does not really exist in Methuen. There is no public services.
No.
We don't have trains like Lawrence,
the
Andover,
ride and
North
park.
Andover. You notice what I'm saying? Every city around us has an MBTA stop. We don't.
Well, I mean,
Well,
the MBT
that's poor planning. I mean, that
Right.
means that we have to really look and sit with MIVA and say, listen,
We don't
we want a stop.
I mean, that's a huge.
That's an undercut.
Yeah,
but
that's-
additional bus, routes in Methuen. Maybe a private, a more.
I can talk to
MBTA
Noah
related.
about that, but how do you guys do that as a city council?
I think it's about.
I have great relationship with current state rep, former state rep Minakuchi, who sits on there, and we just had a meeting with her about increasing bus routes in the city of Lawrence. It is about bringing those relationships to the city of Methuen and making sure that we're getting a better piece of the pie than anywhere else. Right. One of the biggest things when I see it on the Greater Lawrence Tech is Methuen pays more than any other community. My thing is to make sure that no matter what program it is, Methuen residents are getting it.
So we pay more. We pay more in what?
Mayor.
And everything, and GLTS.
That's kind of a vague.
To the Greater
Oh,
Lawrence
and the
Tech.
Greater
you said.
Lawrence
Great.
Tech.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes.
Sorry. I didn't get that either. But
I
yes,
was too.
Methuen
Okay.
does
Sorry,
pay
so
more
we pay
because
more.
of our value.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So then,
And our-
Sorry, I lost that
we're the
one.
second highest students there, but
you give me another
we're increasing
countdown,
more. Oops.
Can you give me another countdown? Sorry, no, you guys keep going.
So we
Producing.
want to make it say, and when we talk about the after dark that we brought to with all the other communities, when I first got on GLTS, it was only offered to one community, and I was like, no, that's not going to happen. We have other communities, and by the way, Methuen pays higher than every other community, so we want the after
You
dark
want more
program.
services 'cause
We want
you're
more
paying for
services
it.
for our kids. So saying we have to get, if we want more buses, we have to sit with the bus company and say, listen, this is what we need. We have to get these services. Why is other services going to all the other communities and not to the city of Methuen?
So listen, I want to leave one thing, and Tom, I want you to keep this video. I'm going to hold myself accountable as well. Whoever is elected, right? Be it DJ, be it Nick, be it me, be it Frank, whatever three are elected, I want to hold us to this because one thing I have is, motivation to do what I say. And I'm not saying anybody doesn't. What I do know is that all these fantastic ideas come out at election time every year.
Right.
And it's always amazing because, you have all this time to do something. Election time, everyone's got the solution for everything.
Right.
So I just want to make
That's
sure.
why I go back and I watch the debates
Yeah, I'm
from 2
glad.
years earlier.
Well, it's
before I
easy
do the
for us to
debate.
sit here and say, hey, we should put housing in the Loop and let's go do it. No, the Loop's got to sit down and say,
Right.
does it work for us?
But she was about to make
Not
a
the loop.
pledge.
It's the
No,
community.
I don't do pledges. I don't do
Oh,
pledges.
you doing a pledge? Go ahead.
You- about
No,
to
I
make
don't
some
do
kind of
pledges.
promise.
I
What
don't
were you
promise.
saying then?
I don't promise anything. What I'm saying to you is hold your elected representatives accountable. Don't believe everything
Well,
we say.
you see how hated I am in Methuen because I try to do that.
Myself included. And I will say, as an attorney, And the only attorney running, doctors are one of the few professions that are they're held to a higher ethical standard in their personal life and their professional life. So what I do in my personal life reflects directly on my professional license.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to follow a certain ethical guideline, right? Not to say people don't live high ethics and people are extremely ethical. What I'm saying is I must, right? Because my license is on the
I agree with whatever
line.
she says.
And there he
Doesn't really
goes. And that's what I've...
I don't think any of us were promising anything here.
Yeah, no pledges. Do you remember the year of the pledges?
No, I don't.
We're not pledging.
That was a while ago. Do you remember the year of the
day,
pledges? Everybody pledged, and 90% of those people broke their pledges, by the way.
Right.
New Year's resolution.
So one of the things that I've noticed recently is this. There's a group called the Strim Group. Is that what it's called, Nick? Is it Strim?
The Sturm Group.
Sturm Group. They were geniuses when they told the city council what they wanted to hear. Geniuses, I say. You guys praised them like they were the second coming of Christ when they came down and said Joe Solomon was a bad guy. But then a few weeks later, I watched the city council, and suddenly they were dastardly and horrible when they wanted to come in and they wanted to do some kind of contract with the evidence room. And I'm wondering how you guys can square that. I know you're the only incumbent here. But this Sturm Group they were geniuses one day, and then it seemed like the next day they weren't giving you the answers that you wanted, and suddenly they weren't. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well,
how did that
I'll
work?
talk to the topic of the contract. The other topic is currently impounded by the state, so I won't have any conversation about that. Ultimately, that contract, looking more into it, there were other options that we should have taken to looking at evidence tracking systems across the state. So when we reviewed it, it looked like it was a good opportunity, but then when it was brought to our attention by different parties that there are other opportunities for us to look into and other avenues, we should probably look that route first before.
But it seemed as though city councils were attacking the Sturm Group as not being a good group to be doing business with. In fact, I think one council said we should be doing all this ourselves.
I don't know about ourselves part, but because I don't think any city does evidence tracking by themselves. Ultimately, I think some of the tactics that were brought by the CEO was just, for me, I was a yes originally, and after looking at some of the conversations that we had during the meetings and off either by text or personal call from him, I just thought it was probably in the best interest that we look for another evidence system, because this evidence system is new age technology. It's newer, but I think there are other companies that are doing it a little bit cheaper. And for $400,000 for the taxpayer for evidence locker, I think ultimately finding something cheaper, we could put $300,000 of that to good use.
Either one of you...
Did you put an RFP out for it?
You two will have anything to say?
I think there was an RFP originally for it, and they came back in as the top of the line. And I think the ultimate decision wasn't so much about the cheap version versus the expensive version. It was what was the best solution. And of course, when you go the best solution, it's got this gizmo, that gadget, that tool, that ultimate, everyone can have. And
technology costs money.
Yeah. So,
but it's also not.
But it's also
well, it changes too.
But it's not also just the technology.
It's also the unions.
It's the the insurance piece to it.
Yeah.
Because everything's insured.
But we're not. I mean, I don't want to believe, and I don't think we are like a high crime, community.
Well, no, I do think Methuen does a good share of collaborational efforts across the Commonwealth, and especially in the Northeast region. We do a lot of partnerships with Lawrence. We just did that recently with their huge raid in Haverhill. So I think our public safety overall is very much equipped to take on things.
Yep.
But I also think next to the fact that we needed a new DPW warehouse, we also need a new public safety facility, and that's either a new firehouse or a new police station on its own, or one giant location.
Well, if you're gonna do that, then let's parlay what we just talked about. Then, every community has a senior center. Most communities have a youth center. Why not wait? If you're going to be doing a public safety center like you're talking about, have a homeless center inside that's got all the stakeholders involved that partner with Tewksbury Detox, with the Sheriff's Department, places that can get beds for people. Why not take advantage of a public safety center and really make it a public safety center, that if there are homeless individuals from Methuen, that they can go there and they can get some kind of services so that it's not burdening Lawrence.
I'm pretty sure if Methuen Police Department, if a homeless person went up there and asked for help for some sort of service, they would have been pointed in the right direction, because Methuen Police Department does have services that are directed to mental health and for homeless. And if it's not finding a bed in Methuen, it's finding a bed somewhere else. But again, Methuen is in not just crisis mode on its own, it's a Commonwealth. We've already established this. This is a Commonwealth matter. And for us to provide services is something that we can, but being able to say, yes, let's build a house, a Lazarus house, or some sort of homeless shelter in Methuen, takes not just, public opinion, but also
All the voters that hate it.
But also, you need to make sure you have the right situation for it. We've had some situations in Methuen where we've had some shelters, not just shelters,
like rooming houses.
Rooming houses problems. And that's been public.
Yeah.
So, for us, we just want to make sure if it's anything's provided to the city for a service, that's done right. And it's, no health code violations, no criminal activity. If a child's in that house, it should be a safe haven for them.
And that's what the residents are concerned with, right? Those are always the hot topics that come up when you bring up this sort of thing.
And I go back to public safety too. When your fire engine starts getting to be too big to fit in a building, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay?
I just had a conversation about that,
When you have to take one engine out to fill a third because two of them are in Lawrence or in Haverhill supporting other communities, because we don't get that support back 90% of the time. It's most of the time our people out there doing it. I'm not even going to get into personal life, but I know people that have called 911 and that ambulance came there, took care, the fire department was there, took care of that family member, and even took care of the person that was, very upset about the situation. Think about if it's your child, and that ambulance is out of service. You have to wait 15 minutes from Lawrence General to get there?
Right.
That's the problem with this situation. So that's why, again, I continue to go back to the mayor, asking for additional funding for fire department and the police department. We had 8 heads on the table last year. I would like to see at least 4 come to the cross. Because again, when an engine goes down, an ambulance goes up, and then a house cuts on fire, where's that other engine?
Right.
Yeah.
We need the public safety here.
It has to be, and I'm going to agree with Nick. We have to have a public safety building, because the firehouse at the four corners, that's hard for them to go in and out of there.
Doesn't fit. There's scrapes.
Right. So we definitely need.
Have you ever walked up those makeshift stairs too?
Yeah, they're falling apart.
I know.
Yeah. So we and these are facilities that do the public safety in the community. I mean, they should have a good facility. That's not a bad idea of having a section where we have a person that deals with referrals
For the homeless.
Or not just the homeless.
For Methuen residents. I'm only talking about for Methuen residents.
Yeah, but not just the homeless. For anybody that goes there looking for referrals for services.
Okay.
And we could have somebody there for that. But we definitely have to look at infrastructure. We have to look at our police department, and it needs to be rebuilt. Whether it's there, and maybe a public safety building where we have all of them under one roof.
And regardless of how any politician in this community feels about other politicians, you still represent the community.
Correct.
You come to that table regardless of how anyone has said anything, because again, business is business, personal is personal, and it's always been that for me. So I again push. I almost said Councilor Hamilton, State Rep Hamilton, all the time. More funding, please. I know you're doing a great job. Keep doing it. Send that check over. I say it to Pavel, too. Hey, Mr. Payano, Senator, where's that check? Please bring it over.
Well, it's hard, though, when they show up at a council meeting and all anybody wants to talk about is a letter.
Again, let's throw that topic aside. It's about what's best for the community.
I agree.
Okay.
We have 4 minutes left. Real quickly, and then I want you to answer the question and then tell people how to get in touch with you and make your final pitch, because we do only have 4 minutes left. The one thing we didn't talk about was the trash The new trash system. What do you guys think about the new trash system? Can it be improved? What should be done? We'll start with
definitely needs to be improved because from Methuen Housing, we're still struggling on getting a dumpster. And it's going on almost a year now just to get a dumpster for our residents. And by the way, these are residents of the community. These are residents that we go out and get votes from as well, who get the least amount of services from the city. So anything can be improved on. I'm not going to say I hate the trash system.
Do you like the new trash system? Is it something that you would have supported? No? All right, answer the question first, and I'll let you make a final pitch.
I can't answer it firsthand because I actually live I don't get those services. I pay same taxes. I don't get the trash service.
Why not?
Because I live on a private street. So I pay for my trash service.
I didn't know there were private streets that existed. You live on a private street?
Yeah, we have quite a few.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's that complex.
Yep. Well, it's not a complex. It's a private road.
Right.
But part of when my development was created was, again, to not burden the city. The council at the time said, well, you can do it, but they're going to have private,
So how do you throw your trash away?
No, I get services. I pay for it.
Okay.
I pay for it. However, I will say, as soon as I put my name in the race for council, I got bombarded with residents asking me where I stand on this trash.
Right.
I also own other properties in Methuen, obviously my business, and some other properties that do deal with the trash system. What we have to differentiate, and I think it's been just about a year we've had this service,
October.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we have to differentiate is what are service problems, right, that are kind of growing pains? Because some of the problems range from size of the trash. We don't want to pay extra. Well, that's kind of, we got to deal with that and look at what the benefit and the burden, like which outweighs the other, right? But then some of them might be an issue with the company in particular. Maybe we can get better service from another company. But I do think that, what is it, 3-year contract?
Yeah.
So whoever gets elected next we'll probably have this contract come at the end. And
All right, Nick, we're eating into final comments.
I think with any new change comes change management. I think we could do a better job with change management on this topic. I think, again, trash is kind of like...
the key topic.
Is like, it's like your
Maybe I should have let off with this.
It's like...
it's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's like your benefits with your health care to your job to your trash is your city. So I think ultimately anything that comes with this type of change management is going to come with aches and pains.
Did you?
I voted yes. Everyone voted yes.
Okay, so you're unanimous.
So ultimately, we look back at it and we say, what were the flaws and were there other questions we could have asked? Yeah, probably. But at the end of the day, trash is up, recycling is up, and yes, there's dumping issues in Methuen, but I really do think that's the topic that we need to attack. How do we stop dumping? And those cameras that are going around on main streets are doing its job.
All right.
Who brings up trash with a minute left?
There's so much more we could be talking about, but we are out of time, believe it or not.
It's the SAT question of the day.
Each one of you just tell people who you are, your name, and how do people get in touch with you before Election Day, November 7th. It is November 7th is Election Day.
Ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first. Go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you. I am Jana Zanni-Pesce, again, candidate for councilor at large. You can get in touch with me by reaching out, email jana@pesceforprogress.com, or you can go right on the website, pesceforprogress.com. My phone number is online if you want to type my name in, and we'll go from there. Which one of you thorns,
Frank.
since I'm the rose, is going to go next?
Frank.
Someone else said that,
Francisco
not me.
Cirillo, running for City Council at large. You could reach me through Facebook. You could reach me at frank.cirillo@gmail.com, 978-902-7137. I'll be sure.
Nicholas DiZoglio, running for City Council at large, number 4 on the ballot. So start from the bottom, work your way up. And
Top down.
Top down. Top of the top
work up. This is my time
Top
to
of
talk.
the first two.
You two had the chance to throw
Start
it
over again because I want to make a clip out of it.
Go ahead.
Okay, Nick DiZoglio. No, I'm not going to do that again.
Go, Nick, because we're gonna start again.
Going to make it hard for me to make a clip out of this.
Thank you for your continued support for the last 4 years. Hopefully I'll have it for one more time, and I appreciate it.
Nick DiZoglio, how do they reach you?
at DiZoglioForMethuen.com.
All right, thank you, everybody. I didn't think our sponsors at the beginning of the show. McLennan Real Estate, you can roll up, Mel. McLennan Real Estate, Century 21, actually Century 21, McLennan Real Estate. The Zanni-Pesce Law Office. I'm going to keep saying Pesce because it's just easier to say.
You say whatever you want.
Thank you, my dear. Marcy and Son Construction. I love her so much. Marcy and Son Construction, EIS Investigation and Gun Training, Borelli's Deli, and Par 28. If you haven't had the coal-fired pizza from Ray's over at Par 28, you guys are really missing out. Tomo and Shaken Seafood, Clear Path for Veterans New England, the Doug Mercurio Law Office in North Reading, AFC Urgent Care and Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors, as well as a free shout out to our buddies over at JG's Ice Cream in Methuen and in Salem. I want to thank Chrissy for bearing with us today with a very long podcast. Please remember to vote on November 7th. Vote on November 7th. It is next Tuesday. And thank you for Chrissy and Chrissy's dad for being here, and Rich Russell, and of course our executive producer Murphy, who I think literally slept through the entire debate. And it sounds like Melvin Taylor says you got to go home, so go home already.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.